All right. Let's see if we're live. Not much to load up this time because not a lot going on, I guess. Load up this time because. All right. Well, hello and welcome everybody. I'm at least on time as usual. Just different day, different reason. All right, so the idea of this one is that we're going to be doing some of the individual tier lists for each of the Deep Rock weapons, and we're just going to be kind of having an active discussion about them as to where everybody thinks that they should go. And for this, we also have Karl.gg pulled up, and that way we can show builds and stuff. And this is going to be structured pretty similar to a standard video that I do, which I actually need to open up some more stuff, because I forgot to open that. So this will just be like the last stream where we were doing this sort of thing. So live video, and for oh yeah, because this camera's slightly off. I was like, why is this one having trouble with the green screen? But that makes sense. In the setup phase right now, Crevice, yes, right now we're in the setup phase. I think I've gotten everything set up now. At least I've got all the recording stuff set up right now. So, let's see, I can actually minimize some of this. So first up, we're going to be talking about the Drac, because last time we were talking about the GK2 and the M1000. So we'll be doing the rest of Scout today, and we'll see how long it takes to go through Scout stuff. And then we'll be moving on to like the other classes. I'm not sure actually which comes next because I just found this tier list. So also not all of this is up to date, as you can kind of tell at the very top. Somewhere up over, my green screen cuts off. Somewhere up over here we've got aggressive venting and we've got impact deflection, which have since switched. So my least favorite primary in the game? Really? The Drac's your least favorite? That's interesting. I like the Drac quite a bit. Alright, so let's begin. Let me do a clap sync real quick. So 3, 2, 1. Just to line up audio later. Hey Failure, how's it going? Welcome. So our very first overclock, and I can actually even point at these ones. Very first overclock is thermal liquid coolant. What thermal liquid coolant does is it makes it so we have basically half of our tier 1 and half of our tier 3 in terms of cooling, which is pretty nice. And that's it. That's pretty good for the Drac. The Drac already is fairly good by itself. Just making it so you can shoot it longer is even better. You can stack the cooling on top of one another, and you can get even more cooling. Hi, hello. So, where do you think thermal liquid coolant should go? Because I'm a pretty big fan of this one. I think I would probably put it B or A tier. Hey, everyone, what's up? Hey, PC, how's it going? Welcome. Glad you can make it. B tier. It is a nice, like, clean overclock. It's not necessary, but it does feel really good to use, and it makes it so, like, if you want to free up your build and you want to take something else, but you feel like you need the cooling, you can go with, like, faster rate of fire, faster movement speed, more accuracy. Hot feet, yeah, I wouldn't really recommend with this one, but the rest. Morning, miners. Morning, Jeff. How's it going? Yeah, I think probably B tier is fine. B or A tier. If you don't put bouncy rounds into S tier, I'm going to commit war crimes. You can't commit war crimes with bouncy rounds. You could with nukes or with anything from Driller, but... or any of the other stuff. Alright, so thermal liquid coolant, I'd probably put up into B tier or A tier. It's pretty good. It's a nice clean overclock. You can build it however you'd like. Usually the way that I build it is going with my standard Drac build, so it's something along these lines. But this can be switched out for whatever you want. There's plenty of options here, especially since you don't need the cooling in tier 1 and 3. This is just so that we have a faster or a more sustained rate of fire. But you could go with a faster rate of fire, you could go with faster projectile speed, you could go with more accuracy, you could also go with anything that you want in like tier 4. I wouldn't really recommend manual heat dump or hot feet. Neither of those really help with this because your gun's going to be staying cool most of the time. So those two are a little bit redundant and likely won't be able to trigger very often. All right, up next we have aggressive venting, which aggressive venting is now a clean overclock. So ignore this, think of it as a clean, impact, deflection, and aggressive venting got switched. What aggressive venting lets you do is overheat your weapon, or when your weapon overheats, it deals fire damage to everything around you. It also fears everything around you, which is great. And yeah, it's probably one of my favorite overclocks right now, at least for the Drac. Just enjoying my morning coffee. Awesome. S for aggressive venting? You think S? Where do you guys think aggressive venting would go? I'm thinking A or S tier. Because aggressive venting has basically no downside. Well, it doesn't have any downside now. So even if you're just using the Drac as is, you're still going to get some benefit from it. And if you want to just keep overheating it, you can keep running around fast. You can deal a lot of damage to things. You can burn stuff. You can fear things. IA for sure. With Cryo, it's really fun. Aggressive venting? Yeah. Yeah, with Cryo, it is really fun. Even without that, like with IFGs, it's really fun too. You can throw like an IFG down and then just keep running in and out of it, setting it off, like scaring everything away, and everything's slowed and it's taking more damage. It doesn't build up heat the fastest. It's not like one of the fastest things to do, and it's not really great if you want to try to like light robots on fire. It doesn't light things like guards on fire or kind of the more flame-proof things on fire very quick. But even so, I think either A or S tier. Like, it kind of depends though too, because the other problem with aggressive venting is that it's really easy to get shot by your teammates when you're using it. So, you know, you go to run up and then use it and like overheat the gun, and then you get shot in the back or something, which kind of sucks. I wouldn't say it's S since it's more of a gimmick that needs a certain build to work, but it's definitely a direct upgrade. Yeah, that's true, Failure. It is a direct upgrade. Because even if you plan on just using the Drac normally, like you build it the exact same way, like if you build it the exact same way as Thermal Liquid, it's not going to be as good, just because you can't sustain fire. But even if you overheat, it doesn't matter. You get faster cooldown reduction, and when you do overheat, you just happen to burn everything around you. Or Driller puts C4 on you. Well, that's just how you run faster into there. All right. I think I'm going to put aggressive venting up into high A tier. It is really good right now. It gets you a lot of damage. It gets you a lot of sustain with the gun, and there's no downside for using it. If you do overheat the weapon, doesn't matter. You just bring the heat back, or you get the overheat duration reduced, so you don't have to be out of the fight as long. And it's really good if you like moving really fast to scout. Let's see. The way that I build aggressive venting, you should probably click that one. The way I build aggressive venting is just all for getting that aggressive overheat going. So faster rate of fire to build up the heat faster, more ammo because we might as well have it. A lot of the damage that we're doing is coming from the fire, so we don't necessarily need the damage. Hot feet because we're going to be overheating this constantly. We might as well be moving fast. Electricity because I really like mixing the fire with the electricity, although any of them in tier 4 are really good. And then manually heat dump, so that way we can overheat the weapon as soon as it gets to 50% and burn everything around us and still be able to move really quick. No, should probably equip that one. And then overall, we only have that 2-second overheat duration, which is pretty nice. Fire does 60 damage, or fire does 60 heat, and it does 5 fear, so we are scaring everything away from us, which is very useful. And if we do just keep overheating this, you'll be surprised at how much ammo you sustain throughout it. Manual heat dump is bad. Damage is not full on manual overheat. Yeah, but that doesn't really matter most of the time. Because like when you do overheat it, you're still burning everything around you. And you're still using it to move around quickly. You could go with the other one here though too. Go with thermal feedback loop. And have a higher rate of fire. And then overheat it that way. But there's also a chance you just kill through everything before you get to use that anyway. I find that I sustained more ammo using this one. And I need resupplies far less often when I use this. This one's only really good if I'm trying to light like guards on fire, and even then it's not that great at dealing that. Fire damage also scales, not full on manual. Yeah, but again, you don't really need that most of the time. you're going to be using it like to clear up swarmers and to clear up jellyfish and to scare away things, burn regular grunts. Do you really need the full fire on it? Because whenever I've tried it, I've been disappointed using this. I find that this is far better with it. It's similar to like doing the it's similar to kind of like Rewire Mod if I run it like, whoops, if I run it like this. Because I run Rewire Mod, or sorry, the other way around. If I run a Rewire Mod like this, and then just try to manual heat dump it, it's better just to go with the full rate of fire, but I find it the opposite for like the aggressive venting. Alright, well, moving on. Up next, we do have Rewire Mod. Alright, so what Rewire Mod does, this is a balanced overclock. Whenever you overheat your weapon, then you get refunded a certain amount of ammo back. This is dependent on how much you overheat it, so if you use manual heat dump, you'll get less, but if you completely overheat it, you'll get more returning back to you. You do have a longer overheat duration, but Rewire Mod gives you like an insane amount of ammo back, and if you just hold down the trigger and just keep firing, you'll be good to go. You can have a lot of ammo from that. Alright, where do you guys think for Rewire Mod? Where would you put that? Rewire Mod, I'd say a C in my opinion. Really, really weird way of staying efficient. That is true. I was thinking somewhere around B tier, because it can be really good on certain missions. Like, it can be good on egg hunts. It can be good on, like, elimination missions. It can be good on, like, any mission where you can freely move around. It's just, I find it also pretty bad on missions where you can't. So, like, salvage missions and escort missions, I find it really underwhelming. A tier, B tier, C tier. I think this one's more mission dependent than anything else. Because again, like on an escort mission, it really sucks at the end when you're just trying to defend the area and you're trying to still like overheat this, or it keeps overheating. And then it's like, well, you know, not as good as just taking something like thermal liquid, because at that point you don't really care about being ammo efficient most of the time. You just want to get through the stage. But then if you're like on an oil rig mission or an egg hunt mission or whatever, where it's just going to be a long sustained fight, well, some of the time it just turns into a long sustained fight, then like Rewire Mod's great. So that's why I'm thinking more to like B tier as just kind of a compromise. Because I'd say it's kind of like C or D tier on like escort missions where it's not that great. And then on like the longer like egg hunt missions, like an 8 egg hunt mission or something, it's probably more along the lines of like A tier. Would also like to add that it lowers your DPS in the span of time since you're busy waiting for the overheat instead of... Yeah, that's true too. You are waiting for the overheat, which can be kind of annoying. I guess it's less annoying if you just keep switching to your secondary and you have something like the Zhukovs that also have a lot of bullets. But yeah, that can be a little bit rough. So, alright, I think I'm going to put Rewire Mod up into B tier. For me, Rewire Mod is kind of awkward. It's kind of weird. It can be good. It can be really good on egg hunt missions where you have to have a long sustained fight, or where it turns into a long sustained fight. Same with like point extracts or oil rig missions. But it can feel really awkward on any sort of like escort mission or salvage mission where overheating your gun and waiting for the overheat to refund your ammo just isn't that great for those mission objectives where you just have to defend the area or defend Dottie, and you end up just taking a bunch of damage there because your gun isn't working, or you're just not killing things super quick. Either way can feel a little bit awkward. Any mission where you don't have to do that and you're free to move around though, Rewire Mod can be really good. So that's why I think I'll put it in a compromise of B tier. Can be pretty solid. The way that I build the Rewire Mod is fairly similar to the aggressive venting. So I will go with faster rate of fire so we can overheat the gun faster, just shoot it quicker. Really, any of them in tier 1 are fine though. You can go with extra ammo, or you can go with more damage. I actually like going with more damage with this one because we end up getting a lot of ammo back so long as you are constantly overheating it. Hot feet, because we are going to be overheating it. Any of them are fine in tier 4 once again. I like electricity. And then I usually go with the thermal feedback loop so that we can overheat it even quicker. Again, this mission excels on things like egg hunts, and it can on elimination missions where you can just constantly keep firing and you don't have to worry about the overheat. On missions where you do have time-sensitive objectives, then the overheat duration can be a bit much, and it can kind of leave you wanting during those fights. All right, what is our next one? Impact Deflection, which did get changed. This is no longer a clean. This is now a balanced. I can click all those again. Rod A. Hey, Nova, how's it going? Welcome. Welcome to another one of our open lobby tier list thingies, whatever the heck we're doing. What I missed? We went over a few of the Dracs. So we've got Thermal Liquid Coolant, Aggressive Venting, Rewire Mod. We still got the other 4 here. We just are barely getting to Impact Deflection. So Impact Deflection, despite what it shows here on this one, is not a clean anymore. It was switched with Rewire Mod. It is now a balanced overclock. And what this one does is let you bounce your rounds once. So every time you shoot a round, it can bounce one more time. So you can potentially hit an enemy twice or hit 2 enemies with 1 shot. And this also reduces your rate of fire now. So you have -2 to your rate of fire, which isn't a huge deal because the Drac still has a pretty good rate of fire. But it is something to consider when taking this one. As no competition with the best AoE CC for Scout, I'd say. It is the best for, like, well, Aggressive Venting could also be argued as the best CC. Because it has a fear on it as well. And if you have like Swarmageddon, both are going to be really good. I think this one's better though, because this one is more safe. And it is probably the best to put Plasma Splash on. I think Rewire Mod is A tier because of the ammo efficiency you get with it. I agree with the placement of the other two. Yeah, well, we were talking about that with Rewire Mod. I would say it's probably like A tier on any mission where you can actively move around and stuff. I just don't like it on missions that are like for the drill dozer or for like salvage missions where you have to stay in place. And then it's really awkward to be using. So I'd say that's why I put it into B tier as a compromise, saying it's probably like C tier on those type of missions and then like A tier on the rest. So that's why I put it in B. Always nice to catch you live. Oh, awesome, Wesley. Let's do this. All right, where do you guys think Impact Deflection? Because I'm thinking an A or S tier. The downside is not that big. It's really good for like Swarmageddon. It's probably like S tier on Swarmageddon missions, but then so is like Aggressive Venting. A tier, S tier, A tier. Yeah, super awesome, but I don't think it's S tier. Yeah, I can see that. Mid A, -2 rate of fire is neglectable. That is true. The downside isn't that big of a deal. The upside is pretty nice. It's mostly that it's nice when you like put Plasma Splash on it. Because without Plasma Splash, Impact Deflection is still good. But I think this makes it so much better because you can just spread out so much more damage. Since you're hitting with 5 area damage with each shot. Top S tier, swarms don't exist with a no brain mode with 200% efficiency. Well, yeah, it's really good for that. But then again, if you have a teammate that can take care of swarmers, if you have somebody with the autocannon or flamethrower, or just if you have a gunner or a driller, then you don't have to worry about them too much. A is a middle ground. Yeah, it's my go-to overclock, but definitely not S tier for me. If it bounced more than once, then maybe. Yeah, I imagine so. If it bounced twice with like the same downside that it has, I think Impact Deflection would be crazy then. Because you could hit the ground underneath something, hit the thing, and it could probably bounce right back down underneath it. And you essentially hit the same thing 3 times. That would probably work really well against like Praetorians or even just against the regular bugs. And even if they are just bouncing around multiple times, like the odds of you hitting a swarmer or a jellyfish, or I guess a teammate, but who cares if you hit a teammate with this unless they have like shield battery booster. Because if you get hit with the Impact Deflection, you're probably not getting hit that hard. Alright, I'm thinking like high A tier for Impact. High A tier, low S tier. Impact Deflection is really good right now. It's one of Scout's best options for clearing up swarms. Same goes with Aggressive Venting. So I'm going to put it up here. Very good overclock. The downside is pretty neglectable. The way that I usually build Impact Deflection is going with the Plasma Splash. Outside of that, you can kind of build it however you'd like. You could make up the rate of fire in tier 1, or you could go with more sustained fire. Usually I build it something like this for more sustained fire. and then just use this for a crowd clear. It's really great for clearing up swarmers. It can be pretty good for clearing up jellyfish, and it's also pretty good for clearing up guards. You don't have tons of damage towards big enemies, but you can take a secondary that makes up for that, and you're good to go. So, yep. All right, moving on to the unstables then, which we've got 3. So, I guess first up, we got Shield Battery Booster, which, let me check to make sure all the things that Shield Battery Booster does, because I usually forget. All right, Shield Battery Booster gives us 1 more rate of fire, 100 extra battery, 50% cooling rate, or sorry, negative 50% cooling rate, 50% more heat per shot, 2 times the overheat duration, and when your shields are full, you get 5.5 more direct damage and double the projectile velocity. However, upon overheating, you lose the bonus that Shield Battery Booster gives you. Now, those first effects that I just said are all the bonuses that you get passively upon adding this. The other one for the 5.5 damage and the double the projectile speed, you lose when you have any less than 100% of your shield. All right. Hipster is clearly the best overclock for the M1000. Well, yeah, but we already did that one, PC. That placement hurts me. Really, Failure? It's still high A tier. It's still really good. Tune down Hipster by 20-25 ammo and it should be good? Yeah, maybe. Despite the issue with it, with it being completely negated, if you lose a tiny bit of shield, I'd still say B tier. B tier? Yeah. I think B tier would probably be fair for Shield Battery Booster. It honestly depends, because it comes with so many downsides too. It's just like, you can take so much damage so easily in certain areas. The Fungus Bug, the Hollow Bow, Magma Core. Can't really think of others right off the top of my head that really injure you just from being in the area. You can also take chip damage from just little things hitting you, from allies accidentally hitting you, which can be worse depending on the weapons that they're using. Oh, I guess the radioactive zone can hurt you too. Low B tier, high C tier even. Shield Battery Booster, better in every way, and simply controlling the overheat. Yeah, that is true. The overheat also kind of sucks, because breaking your shield is not usually a good thing. You can build it to where you can build up your shield quicker, and if you have like Shield Link, you can build it up faster too, which is nice. If you got Shield Link on the non-shield... Oh yeah, Shield Disruption. Shield Disruption, this thing is absolutely D tier. Because then it's not really a bonus to you. It's like it's okay then, but I don't think it'd be enough of a bonus to take it on even those missions. Could be better because the downside can be neglected better. Yeah. Same goes with Lower Tune Particle Accelerator. Way too many downsides for the shot. All right, we'll talk about that when we get to there. For me, I think I'm going to put Shield Battery Booster. Yeah, I think B tier is probably a good compromise. I'm going to put Shield Battery Booster into B tier just because it can fluctuate as to how good it is depending on both the team and the mission type. Thank you for the follow, Sushi. Appreciate that. So, let's see. Shield Battery Booster does get you a lot of bonuses, and it's really nice to take the direct damage here. In tier 2, because if you want to do that, then you do hit 16.5 damage. You can clear up big things really quick, and you can clear up swarms with just a single shot, which is nice. The upsides can be good with this one, but the downsides are pretty severe, and it really depends on the biome that you're fighting in, as well as just the mission type itself. If you have Shield Disruption, then Shield Battery Booster doesn't help you at all, or it helps you very little. Outside of that, though, if you're taking this to the Hollow Bow, Radioactive Zone, Fungus Bog, Magma Core, where just the environment itself can hurt you and cause just a little bit of chip damage, you also don't get the biggest bonus, and you can also take like friendly fire damage. There's a lot of ways to lose Shield Battery Booster. If you take Shield Link, it does get better. I don't know. This one's always been an awkward one for me. So let's see. How do I don't take Shield Battery Booster all that often, honestly. Usually I just build it for more cooling, because otherwise this kind of sucks. And then usually more electricity or armor breaking if I want to beat big things. You can do manual heat dump with this as well. It's kind of a weird one. because it's kind of bugged at the moment. So if you do overheat it, you start regenerating your shield right away. I doubt that's going to stay forever though. And I also find the other tier 5 with thermal feedback loop being a little bit awkward to use this with, but it's okay. I'd rather take armor breaking on the shield battery booster. Yeah, I switch back and forth between all the tier 4s. Electricity is usually my go-to if I can't think of anything. Plasma Splash I take pretty often with like Impact Deflection or Overtuned Particle Accelerator. And then like this one I also take with either Overtuned Particle Accelerator or this one. So like, any of them are good. So we do have some interesting choices here with Shield Battery Booster. This is usually the way I build it, and it's more just built for sustained damage. And then I also make sure to take a fast recharge on my armor, which I usually don't, a faster shield recharge. But with this one I do, just so that I can get it back quicker, and I take Shield Link, which also is an active perk that I don't use that much. But if I am using Shield Battery Booster, I do take this one just to get that shield back quicker. Alright. Let's see. Up next we have Thermal Exhaust Feedback, which Thermal Exhaust Feedback, I think this one's one of the more direct ones. Yeah, Thermal Exhaust Feedback gives us fire on our shots, which scales based on the amount of heat that you have on the Drac. So the more powerful the fire, the more heat your Drac is at. But you can overheat your gun quicker because you get more heat per shot, as well as you also get a longer overheat duration. A tier? Yeah, this one's pretty good. Like, Thermal Exhaust Feedback is generally just a buff to the weapon. I like it quite a bit. It still lets you have a fairly flexible build. A tier? Yeah. S tier, straight upgrade? Well, but does it... It is a straight upgrade. But is it S tier compared to some of the other S tiers that we have for other weapons? It's really good. I do like this one a lot. I think it's one of the better ones. And it's probably S tier on, like, Rival Presence. Because this actually does build up heat fairly quick. Unless you can't control overheat. Yeah, that's true. But I mean, you even have ways to somewhat mitigate that. Because even with this one, sometimes I'll take hot feet just because I do overheat it sometimes. And it's not bad then. I'm thinking this one's high A tier, similar to Impact Deflection. It's high A tier, low S tier. Kind of in the same boat. A tier? A lot of A tiers. Like, it is an upgrade. So, yeah, that's probably a fair place to put it. Do we put it above or below Impact, though? Because I guess these are used for different things, though, too. So it's kind of hard to say. Because, like, Thermal will be worse against crowds than Impact or Aggressive Venting, but it'll be better against single targets. Same level. Somewhere here. Slightly above, depending on the mission. That is true. S tier will? This one is nice. It's probably S tier on Rival Presence missions. And then it's like C tier on elimination missions, but that's because it's fire. So everything kind of gets knocked down on those missions. And then on everything else, I think it's really good. Yeah, I think high A tier. High A tier seems like a fair place to put Thermal Exhaust Feedback. This one is pretty good. This one gets you fire damage on every shot, so you can burn through things really quickly. It's probably even higher on like Rival Presence missions, where you can actually light the robots on fire fairly fast with this. And it does good damage towards big enemies. It doesn't really make the Drac any better against, well, smaller enemies like Swarmers, but it still does make it better against the standard enemies you're going to be fighting a lot, so Grunts, Guards, Slashers, stuff like that. And it's still surprisingly flexible for an unstable overclock. Usually the way that I'll build this is going like, well, no, I don't usually go for heat, because building it up faster is nice. Usually I'll go with faster rate of fire, or I'll go with more projectile speed. Both these are great for this one. You could go with less heat per shot, but that makes it easier to keep the heat on an enemy, but it will take longer to actually get the heat build up, and once you get used to that, it's pretty nice to not need that. Go into the extra ammo so that we can use it more often. Sometimes I will go with the cooling here. Cooling is not bad on this because sometimes you can get it pretty hot and you might need to use the weapon again really quick. But if you don't have that problem, you could go with the better accuracy, or you could go with hot feet because sometimes you do overheat this, and I do too. Electricity rounds on top of that, but armor breaking is also good, and same with plasma splash. And then I'll usually go with the thermal feedback loop so that I can build up heat even quicker. Does take getting used to this overclock, but it is just a straight upgrade to the Drac, and it's really good on any sort of robot mission. Alright, and then our last one is Overtuned Particle Accelerator. Where do you guys think we should put Overtuned? Because I'm also thinking like A or S tier. Overtuned Particle Accelerator is just worse than thermal feedback, or thermal exhaust feedback. Too many downsides for the damage, plus accuracy really hurts, less shots hit, damage per second, C tier at best. C tier? No, it's not C tier. Not by a long shot. Easily IA tier, S tier, yeah. It can out damage Hipster. Yeah, it can. It's better than Hipster at close range. And Scout is really good at getting it at close range. You do have to be careful with it because outside of close range, it's really not that good. And you really can't build it for accuracy. Because if you build this accuracy, this only affects the vertical spread, I believe. Or this affects both horizontal and vertical. But the, what is it? Is it the vertical spread that's like 4 times worse? I think the vertical spread is far more than the horizontal spread. It's one or the other. Not many things are S tier. That is the game breaking tier, just in my opinion. Yeah, usually I put the things in S tier that are kind of crazy. It depends though too, because you could just say if you wanted to do S tier for like the specific weapon, like if you wanted to have something in S tier for each weapon. It would also be different if you wanted to have something in every tier for this, because it depends on what you're comparing them to. It's only because Hipster gets a damage reduction. That is true, but that's kind of offset everything else that Hipster gets. I don't think Overtuned Particle Accelerator is as crazy as Hipster, but I feel like it should still go into low S tier or high A tier. One of the two. Because it is really good. Like going up to 17 damage, you could even go up to 19 if you want. The ammo does hurt it though. I do find myself running through ammo with this pretty quick. So usually I'll take the ammo over it. And we get a whole whopping 10 ammo, yay. Imagine if Hipster didn't have damage reduction. Well, then it would be hands down the best overclock in the game. Because you get 2-shot, just regular grunts. You'd still have 200 and something bullets with it. You'd still have all the accuracy and everything. Maybe it wouldn't be hands down the best because there are still busted things, but it would be incredibly strong. 14k theoretical damage. Yeah. And usually the only weapons that have like that high damage are like Gunner's weapons. And that's if you don't miss any shot, which is very unlikely with Gunner's weapons. Like you could probably do it with the Hurricane, but the minigun you're going to miss shots, and the autocannon you're going to miss shots. That's if Hipster didn't have damage reduction and the tier 1 ammo is taken. Yeah. Even with the damage, it would still be crazy. Alright, I'm going to put Overtuned Particle Accelerator high up into A tier as well. It's another great overclock for the Drac. Lets you have a lot of damage at very close range. It doesn't let you have very much long range though, so you will need a secondary for long range, which you do kind of have now with the crossbow. You could also take it with something like Shape Shells from the Boomstick. That's a great option too. The way that I usually build the Overtuned Particle Accelerator is going for more heat reduction and faster cooling, as well as more ammo. You don't really need better accuracy or reduced spread for this weapon because it's just not that great if you have it. The vertical spread is still pretty crazy. The horizontal spread is a little bit better, but you're still firing in a pretty big cone, so accuracy is not as useful as going with either the cooling or just the overheat if you do find yourself overheating this. Any of them in tier 4 are really good. You can go with Plasma Splash for clearing up crowds faster, electricity rounds for getting a little bit more damage towards things, and armor breaking to hurt bigger things like Praetorians. Any of these are fine. Usually I go with the Plasma Splash, and then I'll go with the Thermal Feedback Loop, just because the manual overheat doesn't really help us with this one, so this is a better option in my opinion. Alright, so there is the Drac. So that's the Drac overclocks. As you can see, no bad ones. All of them are pretty good. Drac's a pretty solid weapon overall, and it's got really solid overclocks and some really fun overclocks, ones that do change it up quite a bit, which I really enjoy. Alright, so let's move on from the Drac over to the Boomstick, since we're now on the secondaries. Let me just kind of put these down here somewhere. Doesn't really matter where. Alright. Let me also pull the boomstick over here. So, we've got the weird spread of overclocks with the boomstick. 4 cleans, 1 balanced, 1 unstable. Special powder, special powder, special powder. Yeah. Right now, Hipster has about 9k. Yeah, 9k damage. It's still pretty high. The people at Ghost Ship. Let's make the most powerful overclock in the game. Hipster gets buffed. Rod the outro? Yeah, I can do an outro too. I mean, I could record that later or something, but we might as well do it now. So let me do the outro real quick for that last one. It doesn't matter. I'll just take the last screen from the other one. I don't need to put them back up there. All right, thanks everybody for watching this. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Tell me your thoughts on the Drac Overclocks down in the comments below. Which ones are you really enjoying? Which ones do you may or may not like? And special thanks to the supporters of this channel. These are my members over here on YouTube, patrons over on Patreon. They get early access to videos just like this. If you'd like to be a part of that, there are links in the description. Thanks everybody for doing that. I really do appreciate it, and I hope you guys have a great day. Bye-bye. All right, now let's continue. Special powder is X tier. Yeah, special powder could be any tier, really. It depends on how much you like it. Man, did I miss this? Oh, hello, commenter. Welcome. Well, we're on the boomstick now. We're filming outros a little bit. At least for that one. We're going to have to do it like 3 more times. Because I'll have to change things slightly. And I don't like doing the same outro every time, so. Alright. Let's begin with compact shells. What does compact shells actually give us? I remember it gives us ammo. It's faster reloads. That's the other thing. Yes. Alright, so first up, our first boomstick overclock is compact shells. This gives you 6 more shells, and it gives you a 0.2 second faster reload speed. Faster reload speed is nice, and more ammo is nice. This is a fantastic clean overclock for the boomstick. Aaron, it's my B-day. I'm 16 now. Awesome, Ayler. Well, happy birthday. Special powder is SSS tier in case of fun. Yeah, in case of fun. It's really high up there. A tier? B tier? It's like A or B tier. Like, more shells for the boomstick is good. The boomstick itself is good. This, it's a clean overclock. Is there really much to... There's not really anything to hate about this, unless you just hate the boomstick in general, which is fine, but... B tier? Yeah, it's a nice little buff. It's not a, like, massive buff. Even if you take full ammo, I think you get, like, 50 shots in total? Oh, not quite 50. 44. Oh, whoops. That's not ammo. You do get 50. Okay, 52 rounds in total, which is pretty nice. That reload speed is pretty nice, too, even though I know that you can have even faster reloads with double trigger because it's, for whatever reason, it's tied to the rate of fire. Special powder should be a balanced, get the same benefit, but have the crippled legs addiction. I seen that you posted that, Ice. Yeah, I don't see why not. They would give us another balanced one, and it wouldn't change special powder at all. The one that I really hope gets changed is double barrel, but we'll get to that one when we get to it. So yeah, compact shells is like high B tier, high A tier, or high B tier, low A tier. It's a good overclock. It's a clean overclock. There's nothing wrong with it. Gives you more shells with the boomstick, which is always nice. Boomstick could always make good use of extra ammo, and you can kind of build it however you'd like. Usually I build it something like this, where I will go with extra ammo, faster reloads, or more rate of fire. Both are good. The rate of fire actually does affect your reload speed, so if you're shooting it out really quick, you can do that. If you're not shooting it out constantly, at least with both shots, you can go with faster reloads. And having that 1.1 second reload is pretty quick, so the reload speed is fast regardless of whichever one of these you take. It just depends if you want more damage, or at least more damage toward big enemies, more damage per second, or if you just want that quicker reload. If you don't have like born ready, or if you find yourself not reloading it super frequently, sometimes I'll take the Quickfire ejector too. Actually, I usually take the Quickfire ejector just because it kind of makes sense for me. Usually more pellets. We don't need more ammo. If you want more ammo though, you can have it, and then you can go up to 50 rounds extra with the boomstick, which is great. Blow through rounds because it usually gets us the most value in tier 4. And then white phosphorus rounds, but fear the boomstick is also good. Again, you can build this however you'd like. It is a clean overclock, so no really wrong way to build it. All right, See, up next we got Stuff Shells. Stuff Shells is really good. Back from high school, also a tier list time. Yes. Well, welcome back, Alex. Glad you're here. So, Stuff Shells is 1 more damage, 1 more pellet. And that's it. A tier? Yeah, I'm thinking that this... I think that this one's better than Compact Shells. Because how much damage does this actually get you just by itself? Like, right now we've got 61 DPS, potentially 3,000 damage. And that's actually with the extra ammo, so... 2,400, let's see. Stuff Shells, about the same. But more DPS. So the only thing that changed was that. That's really good. Like, you can have even more pellets on there and have 12 pellets at 13 damage apiece. And be dealing really high damage. A tier for Stuff Shells. A tier, A tier. Gonna be back later. Gotta go for now. Alright, Alex, take care. Yeah, Stuff Shells I think is A tier. I think it's an easy A tier for a clean. It's really good. It's anything that you would want with the Boomstick. More damage, more pellets. And you can build it for even more damage and more pellets, or you can build it for more ammo. The way that I usually build it is going something like this. This gets us 13 damage per pellet at 12 pellets. Gives us a lot of damage per second, plus we have fire on those, and we can blow through. We can hit a lot of enemies. Does a lot of damage to big enemies, does a lot of damage to small enemies. Really good for crowd control. You could build it however you'd like, though. If you feel like you need more ammo, you could go with that. If you feel like you need more damage, you could go for that. Really good choice all the way around. Alright, then we've got Special Powder. RJ250 is S tier. Alright, well, we're not doing Grenade Launcher right now. And you could take more damage in tier 1. You could, yeah. You could take more damage in tier 1 and, like, use it on Dreadnought missions or something. Just hit them really hard. It's pretty solid for bursting with ice. Yeah. S++++. Where do you guys think Special Powder should go? Special Powder is solely determined on the fun factor. Because as an overclock, it's an overclock that doesn't necessarily give you anything. If you just plan on using the boomstick normally, like if you're just running around just shooting stuff, it's the same boomstick. But if you do plan on using it for mobility, it's really good. And if you plan on using it for fun, it's really good. Mobility kind of depends on the cave system, but there's almost no cave that you can't use Special Powder in to fly away. So, hey Alex, has to be S tier. Also, hi. S tier Special Powder is clutch in any crazy situation. That is true. It helps with the high ceilings. Yes, if you get a map with really high ceilings, it's fantastic on. If you get a like just super tunnely map where there's no real high ceilings, it's still okay because you can usually jump up and blast yourself backwards to get away from things. So at the very least, it gives you some mobility to get out of bad situations. Which, again, no downside to this one. So I think Special Powder should go up into S tier. Because it gives you more utility on a weapon, and that's it. The weapon itself is already pretty good. It's also super fun to use. Most of the time, there's going to be ways of using it to at least get away from a horde, get away from whatever big enemy is trying to hit you. And in very large maps, like oil rig missions or point extracts, the caves are almost always really big, and Special Powder just helps you maneuver that much more. It can also help you like just not take fall damage, which is really nice. Usually the way that I'll build Special Powder, usually the way that I build Special Powder is going with just more ammo. Outside of that, you can kind of build it however you'd like. So in tier 2, this really depends. Double trigger lets you fly potentially higher and use it more often. However, if you're like me and forget to reload pretty often midair, then Quickfire ejector can be really useful, just so that you don't break your legs as much. So I'll usually take that one. More ammo in tier 3, again, just so that I can use it more often to bounce around. Blow through rounds because we can punch through enemies, but armor breaking could also be really useful here. Even if you want to take improved blast wave, which isn't really the best, you could take it here. And then usually I go with white phosphorus rounds again for the fire, unless you're going on like an elimination mission or you really like Fear the Boomstick. Both these can be great options too. Or if you want to take auto reload and you're not running Born Ready, that's a great option too. All right. Functionality plus fun factor equals S tier. Yeah. Who else remembers Ron's Special Powder rocket from the Force Scout Rival Presence mission from a few weeks ago? I don't crevice, but sounds like it would probably be pretty useful there. No other overclock can compete with sorry, RJ250. Oh, a special powder. Yeah, I mean RJ250 I guess could compete with it, mostly because it's on engineer and it's not on scout. Like scout already has so many other ways of moving around, mostly the grappling hook, where special powder just feels like a nice bonus. Engineer really doesn't. RJ250 is really the only thing that gives you more mobility. So if you look at it like that, it could be good. Remember the time you had 5 people in the server? Yeah. I think that's happened a few times, but I do remember the 5 scout one where everything crashed eventually. That was kind of funny. All right, up next we have everybody's favorite overclock, double barrel. Where should we put double barrel at? As if it belongs anywhere other than D tier. F tier. D, yeah. D. S for suck. S for the memes. Yeah, put it in S tier. Don't even talk about it. Just put it up there. D for double barrel. Yeah, that's true. So what double barrel does... See, what double barrel does is gives you 1 more point of damage, similar to stuffed shells. However, this makes it so every time you fire out your shotgun, you are forced to fire out both barrels at the same time. And that's it. That is not really good, because if you want to, you don't really have an option in tier 2. You have to take Quickfire Ejector. Taking faster rate of fire doesn't help when you're forced to fire out both shots immediately. So this doesn't even help with the faster reload speed of it. So taking reload speed makes a little bit more sense. And this really doesn't help against hordes. If you're firing double barrel into hordes, you're probably just wasting ammo, especially if there's only 1 or 2 grunts, where you could probably kill it with a single shot from the double barrel otherwise. So this one is just a direct downgrade to the double barrel the majority of the time, or not even much of an upgrade, because even that 1 more point of damage gets completely outshined by stuff shells, which gives you 1 more pellet as well, and something like compact shells, which just gives you more ammo. Both of these are better options for dealing more damage to more enemies, and even against large enemies, they're better. Double barrel belongs in D tier, and it should really get reworked to something else. I want it like reworked into an unstable overclock. And so usually the way that I build double barrel doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because if I'm taking it, I'm likely taking it for a challenge or taking it for the memes or whatever it might be. If you want a decent double barrel, I would probably recommend going with ammo or going with pellets and only using this for big enemies, and that's it. Blow through rounds or tungsten coated buckshot is fine, because you're likely going to be using this against big enemies, and then something like white phosphorus rounds again, so that you can light big enemies on fire like Praetorians. It's only good for a Doom Guy build. Yeah, it's really only good for a Doom Guy build, for the memes build, for a challenge build. Shape Shells is A tier. Shape Shells is really good. Yeah, up next we got Shape Shells. Where should we put Shape Shells? Double barrel plus super cooling chamber with no ammo mod is the best scout build. You can make it work on like Dreadnought missions, but it's still really rough. And you also need like Berserker, so that you at least have something. Close to A tier, but A or B, A tier. I'm thinking more A tier. Shape Shells actually got buffed recently, because the amount of it, well, it used to be that you lost out on 1 pellet, I believe, which losing out on 4 ammo I think is actually better than losing out on 1 pellet. 50% reduction in spread is really nice. The boomstick can be surprisingly accurate at long range, especially with this, and you still have all of your damage. If you take either of your ammo choices or both your ammo choices, then you make up for that loss in ammo immediately. Essentially straight upgrade. Usually S tier Shape Shells, because now it's only 4 ammo instead of a pellet. Yeah, it's a whole lot better. I don't know if it's really... I don't think I'd put it like S tier. The sniper shotgun. Yeah, it does give you a long range option. So if you want to take like Overtuned Particle Accelerator or even like Hipster, I find it really good with. Well, Hipster's good with everything, but it does kind of make up for Hipster's weaknesses a little bit. Lets you deal high damage to big enemies at a decent distance. I guess high burst damage, not high spam damage, because you can do pretty high, like, consistent damage. I'd say it depends on your build. Yeah, well, I mean, that's kind of with everything, though. Yeah, I'm going to put Shape Shells high up into A tier. Shape Shells are really good. 50% damage or 50% reduction in spread is fantastic on the Boomstick. Sometimes it's surprisingly accurate. And you only lose out on 4 ammo now since it got changed. It used to be 1 pellet. Losing out on 4 ammo is better than 1 pellet because you'll actually get more damage this way. And if you take the ammo in tier 1, then you make up for that. And you get an additional 4 rounds, which is nice. Either option in tier 2 is your choice. Pick whichever one you'd like. I like going with more pellets in tier 3. That way we can pretty much always hit with all 11 of these pellets and deal really high damage just about any range. Blow-through rounds or armor breaking is really good with this. And then, again, white phosphorus rounds or Fear the Boomstick are great options for Shape Shells. Stuff like those sniper turrets and acid spitters on the roof. Yeah, that's true. It's really good for them. And again, it's really good if you take it with like Overtuned Particle Accelerator where you're not hitting anything like on the ceiling. You're missing like so many shots there. All right, then our last one for the Boomstick is Jumbo Shells, which Jumbo Shells gives us a lot more damage, gives us 8 more damage per pellet. We lose out on 10 ammo in total, and we also get a slightly longer reload at 2.5 seconds. A tier. Jumbo Shells B tier? B tier? Jumbo Shells is pretty good. Jumbo Shells lets you do really high damage to big enemies. It's good if you... this one also kind of depends on the build, because you do lose out on a lot of ammo, and you're not going to want to be using Jumbo Shells for like regular grunts. But against anything big, it's going to slap them real hard. Good on Dreadnoughts, but normal missions, it kind of falls off. Even on normal missions, it can be okay for taking out like Oppressors and Praetorians, which you usually have a couple of. Like every mission. S tier, 1 shot. Doesn't put damage Triforg. Yeah, that's true. You do have more burst damage with this than like Triforg Volley. The Triforg Volley will have more sustained damage, I believe, though. Goes great with Hipster or Rewire Mod on Drac. Yeah, that's true. It's great for them. Anything where you have ammo efficiency, it's quite good. I never really take fear stuff because my brain is small and I would rather kill things than move them. Try taking fear on Neurotoxin with the autocannon. That one I think abuses it the best. Because you're not doing high damage then, and just scaring everything away and slowing them down is really good, as well as the damage over time is really nice. Like, I think that's where fear really shines. On everything else, well, on the Drac it's pretty good too with aggressive venting. Neurotoxin fear equals OP, yeah. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I think I would put Jumbo Shells up into A tier. Like, the ammo efficiency on it kind of sucks, so it's not great on every build, and it does shine more on, like, elimination missions, but you can still use it to take out things like Menaces or Spitballers, Praetorians, Oppressor, stuff like that, and it works pretty well for those jobs. So I think I'm going to put Jumbo Shells up into A tier. Very good. It's really fun to build if you want to go full damage. And just take those two and then have 23 damage a shot with 11 pellets and deal massive damage to enemies. You could also take this with ammo. I do like taking the reload speed on this one too, because I don't really think that it's necessary to fire out both these barrels a lot of the time. Sometimes you only need 1 shot with it, but if you want to do even more damage, and if you're taking this specifically on like a Dreadnought mission, this build is super fun. And going with something like this, you'll just slap the twins with it. If you're taking it on other missions, sometimes I'll go with something else. Again, similar to this. We'll get more damage. We'll get more pellets. It's pretty flexible for what you got. Just get right up next to something and shoot it in the weak spot, and you'll deal massive damage. Especially if you want to combine this with like an IFG, then you'll deal even more damage with that. All right, so there is all of our overclocks for the Boomstick. A lot of good ones. One particular bad one that I think should get reworked. Tell me your thoughts down below in the comments on the Boomstick and its overclocks. Which ones do you enjoy the most? And do you think double barrel should get reworked? Because I do. Thanks everybody for watching this. I really do appreciate it. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you next time. Bye-bye. All right. Now let's move on to... let's put the double barrel stuff down here. Somewhere just out of the way. And then let's move on to the Zhukovs. Boomstick. Hey, Dan. Yep, Boomstick. I'll be sure to try it when I get that overclock. All right. Budget cut hyper propellant for the jumbo shells? Kind of. Hyper propellant does give you long range and high damage. It's really good. Jumbo shells gets you a lot of damage too. It's just it's very close range. This is weird watching this live. Kind of hard boiled. I felt it would be fun though to get other people's input when I'm making these to see what other people think about all the overclocks. So changes it up a little bit. And people have been asking for like more updated lists because a lot of the overclocks have been changed and I haven't done this in like a year for some of these weapons. Like the boomstick, I don't think I talked about for like a year. Wait, do I leave now or... No, don't worry about it, Alex. It's still continuing. That's just for editing later on. So we're going to be doing the Zhukovs and we're going to be doing the crossbow at the very least. That outro just confused me. Yeah, sorry about that. Minimal mags is A tier. Minimal mags is A tier. Minimal mags is nice. I don't know if it's really A tier. It's really cool to have reload speed with it. Because if you take minimal mags and you take the reload speed, you got that 0.8 second reload. It's super quick. The Zhukovs already fill really quick, even without this, but it is so fast. Are we only doing Scout today? Yeah, we're only doing Scout today. We'll do like the other classes a different day. A tier maybe. Definitely a solid B tier. Yeah. Yeah, it's a clean overclock. So, all right. Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be doing another tier list, this time on the Zhukov submachine guns for Scout. And first up, we have minimal magazines. This one gets us a faster reload speed, and what the heck else does it do? Oh, faster rate of fire. And it gets us a faster rate of fire. Both these are really nice for the Zhukovs. You can actually stack reload speed on minimal magazines. And if you do that, then you have a very, very fast reload at 0.8 seconds. You go from 1.8, which is already really quick, to 0.8, which is even faster. Basically, you don't have very much downtime with this one, which makes it a pretty great overclock. It is a clean, so there's really no downside to it. Scout most played class at Plat 2. Awesome. Can't play the Scout without using the crossbow now. The utility it offers is exactly what the Scout needs. Love it. Yeah? Oh, one moment. I gotta check something. All right, sorry about that. I'm back now. Pizza at the door. Cool. The only clean one. Yeah, the Zhukovs have a weird setup. I know it was because there was 2 clean overclocks at one point in time, but they removed one for some reason. And it didn't sound like the one that they removed or were planning on implementing was going to be that great, because it was just like burst fire SMGs, which I don't think that would be good. I think it was like a clean that did like 5-round burst fires from the SMGs and something else. 5-round burst fire, I think. Yeah. I've got the other 3 classes promoted thrice and never touched Scout. I've got every class at least silver 2. Awesome. All right, so minimal magazines, I think I'm going to put up into high B tier, low A tier. It's another solid, clean overclock. It's pretty good. There's nothing really to complain about. You can build it however you'd like, and it's really fun to run full reload speed. If you take the tier 2, which I like taking, usually I go with extra ammo, less spread, more ammo, and then either get in, get out, or conductive bullets. Conductive bullets if I'm running IFGs, or if I'm running like the Drac with electricity rounds, I'll take that. If not, then get in, get out is a good choice. So, your call here. Every class of diamond, nice. All right, up next is custom casings, which custom casings gives you 30 more mag size at the cost of 4 rate of fire. This one's like A tier for minimal mags. I could see that. We might move it up. Custom casings B tier, solid B. Yeah, probably. It doesn't really change the gun that much. Like if you want to have more sustained fire, it lets you do that. but that's about it. And it's like, that's not really necessary. It's not a downside though either. Used every overclock aside from custom casings. Zhukovs I find to be the best secondary for the GK2. It is nice with that. I take it pretty often with that one too. So up next we got custom casings. The one balanced overclock. This one gets you 30 more mag size, but you lose out on rate of fire slightly. This one's probably another B tier. This one doesn't really change the Zhukovs that much. It feels about the same. You just get more sustained fire with a slightly slower rate of fire, but the Zhukovs have a really high rate of fire, so that's not really a downside. This is just kind of a different way to play the Zhukovs. I think it's fine. And I'll build it basically the same way that I built the other minimal magazines, going with faster reloads, more ammo, reduced space spread, more ammo, and then again, conductive bullets or get in, get out. I don't really change up the build that much. You could go with the fast rate of fire in tier 2 if you just want to make up for that, and then you have basically the same as the regular Zhukovs, just with a higher rate of fire and larger magazines. So again, more sustained damage, more sustained fire. Really your call though. Or you could even go with the higher magazine size and go with 90 rounds in it and have a really long sustained fire, but that's not entirely necessary either. I've always seen Zhukovs as a really fast damage burst weapon. Yeah. If you run full movement speed with the GK2 and the Zhukovs, it's pretty easy to get into the other side of the cave. Yeah, that's true. You can. If you take the rate of fire mod, this overclock is a general buff. Yeah, that is true too, meme. There's a couple bounced overclocks that are like that throughout the game. Because the miniguns one is like that too, where it just gives you more ammo and a slower rate of fire. You take the extra rate of fire in tier 1 and you just have more ammo. That's good. So, I don't know. This one feels fine though. Sometimes I'll run it like this, sometimes I'll run it like this. Usually I'll run it like this just because this is my standard build and I don't change it up too much, but I think custom casings is fine. By the way, Ron, the Halloween update on KF2 dropped today. Yeah, I seen that. I had mine updating. I like explosive rounds for the Zhukovs. Yeah, those are really good. We'll get to them in just a second. So up next, we got gas rerouting, which this one got buffed recently. This one now gives you 6 damage, I believe. Pretty sure it's 6. Yep, 6 direct damage. However, it comes at the downside of having 50% increased base spread, so your guns are less accurate. You lose out on the weak spot damage bonus, which is the 15%. This is not for hitting enemies in the weak spot. You will still get double damage when you hit something in the weak spot generally, sometimes triple damage if it's something like a bulk. And then you also lose out on 50% of your total movement speed. The slowness is the killer? It can be. I think it honestly depends, because if you take this, like one of my favorite builds to run with this one is to take aggressive venting, and then you kind of just keep overheating it, switching to these, and running around, and then switching back, and the slowdown isn't too big of a deal. A tier slowdown isn't too bad if you're using it to clear grunts. Yeah, high B tier, gas recycling is B tier, A or B tier. Yeah, I can see that. I find it extremely fun to run max rate of fire and then get in, get out on the GK2. Oh, yeah, that one. The Battle Frenzy or whatever the heck it's called. If you hate slowness, with get in, get out, it pretty much fixes that. That is true. Don't forget AI stability with Battle Frenzy. Yeah, you could run that. We need a tier that's just in between A and B tier. So what, like a B+? Tier 5, A, and Drac Electricity is really good. Yeah, that's true. Basically. Yeah, I don't think I'd want to do a tier list that has like that many options though. Or it's like A+, B+, B-, you know, like you could do it that way and I think that would be fine, but it would just take up like so much stuff. And I'd rather just settle on this where it's just kind of sectioned the way that it is. So gas rerouting is nice that it went up to 18 damage. You can actually get it up higher. You can get up to 20 damage if you want. 20 damage a shot is pretty nice, plus potentially up to 40 damage if you're hitting things in the weak spot, or again 60 damage. Just don't take the hollow point rounds here in tier 4, because that does absolutely nothing since it buffs the weak spot damage bonus here. Maybe A+ and A-. Yeah, you could do that one. A plus, A minus. Like, nothing less than that. I think that would be fair for certain tier lists and stuff. I don't know. You do want to take the base spread, though. Like, you want to take this in tier 3. Because, like, yeah, that, like, 150% base spread is really bad. Makes it really difficult to hit stuff. Alright, I think I'm going to put gas rerouting in low A tier or high B tier. It's a pretty decent overclock. The slowdown can kind of suck. It depends on what you're running. You can make up for it with other movement speed abilities. With the Zhukovs, you can if you want to take get in, get out in tier 5. That's an option. So when you do fully empty your magazines, you can at least run quick. You could also take it with like Battle Frenzy from the GK2, or you can take it with the manual heat dump with Hot Feet on the Drac. Those are options to move around faster and kind of mitigate this. I would highly recommend taking the reduced spread in tier 3, because otherwise you have a really wide amount of spread and it's really inaccurate at anything but very close range. This lets you at least have some level of mid-range, and then beyond that it's usually the same type of build that I run. So faster reloads, faster or more ammo, faster reloads, and more ammo. You could build this for damage and get up to 20 damage per shot, but you don't really need that. You could also get more damage per second if you want to go with a faster rate of fire. That could also help if you're running get in, get out, so that you can just empty out the magazines even quicker. Anything really works in this besides taking hollow point rounds. Don't take that because it doesn't affect your weak spot damage whatsoever, because you don't get any bonus weak spot damage. Again, it doesn't take away your weak spot damage though when hitting those weak spots on like 2 times. So you will still get double damage on them. You just won't get the extra 15% of the Zhukovs have naturally. 12.6k base damage isn't bad for a secondary. Yeah, it's really not. This one's actually even higher if you build it like this. The potential. I mean, it is the Zhukov, so you're not going to be hitting every shot. So this is extremely optimistic to actually be hitting anywhere near that. But even if you do like maybe a third reduced, then yeah, you're probably about the same amount of damage there. Hard boiled, assuming you're going to miss like 1/3 of your shots and hit the other 2/3. So even then, still pretty good. Could even be potentially better if you take like blow through rounds and are hitting multiple. Only use it for big targets? Yeah, you can use it for big targets. It works really well with that. I like taking it with conductive bullets. Conductive bullets on this makes it deal even more damage because you can put electricity from either the Drac or the IFGs on there, or again, M1000 GK2 depending on overclocks. Or if you have an engineer running stubby or something. Alright, Cryo Mindlets is next. Where should we put Cryo Mindlets? I'm thinking A tier or potentially even S tier. As long as you're using it against crowds. It's really good against crowds. Against big enemies, it's less useful. And against dreadnoughts, it's really not that great. A tier, S tier, S tier. It does let you clear up hordes of grunts really, really fast. Because, like, you do want to take blow-through rounds with this. The downside, I think, is only, like, what, 1 damage loss? Is that all you lose? Oh, and 10 magazine size. Okay, who cares about the 10 magazine and 1 damage? You're hitting 12 damage. Even if you build damage with this, you're still not hitting anything that's that important. So, it's nice with the M1000. Yeah. Low S tier, high A tier. A tier for Cryo. Cryo, low S tier. Yeah, it's like, it really depends. On like Swarmageddon, it's also probably like S tier because you just clear up all the Swarmers so fast. So Cryo Mindlets is up next. Cryo Mindlets lets you have cryo shots with each of your bullets that hit the ground. If you pair this with the blow-through rounds, then this allows you to shoot through an enemy, stick the Cryo Mindlet on the ground, Cryo Mindlet then arms and then explodes, dealing frost damage or freezing everything around it or building up frost with everything around it. Obviously, it'll freeze smaller things quicker than bigger things, and it works really well against crowds because you can freeze grunts, you can freeze guards, slashers, swarmers. If you freeze swarmers, they just die. Exploders, anything like that. You can also freeze stationary targets super easy with Cryo Mindlets. The downside of Cryo Mindlets is that you lose out on 10 mag size, and you also lose out on 1 damage overall. Neither of those debuffs are that significant for this, and if you're only using this for crowds, it's really good. If you're planning on using this for bigger enemies, it's not as good. It can work on like Praetorians, but once you get to Oppressors or Dreadnoughts, it's very, very difficult to actually get to work. But you can free Spitballers or Nexuses really fast. Have to run blow-through rounds on this? Yeah. Blow-through rounds are pretty much like a must-have. S tier on almost every mission. Only one that might be a problem is Dreads and Sabotage. Even Sabotage, it can work pretty well, because you can still freeze. It depends what you get on Sabotage, I guess. But yeah, Sabotage, it can work pretty well. It's also maybe not the best against rollers, and it's not, I wouldn't say it's S tier on like Magterra Plague, just because actually freezing the Magterra is really difficult, at least with this. With something like the Cryo Cannon, it's far easier. So I think I'm going to put Cryo Mindlets up into low S tier, high A tier. It is very good. It's really good against crowds, as long as you're using it just for crowds. And usually you just want to go with extra ammo for this. And you do need blow-through rounds in tier 4. At least to get the most out of this, because you can just punch through enemies and then have the mine arm below them, freeze them afterwards. So extra ammo in tier 1, anything in tier 2, it's your choice. You could go with the mag size and make up for what you lost. Rate of fire if you want to spread out more frost faster, or reload speed if you just want quality of life. I like going with extra accuracy because damage really doesn't matter with this one. We're going to be using it mostly for the freeze. And then I usually like taking get in, get out with this, although you could take conductive bullets if you're also running like the IFGs with this. Works well there too. All right. And then our last one, which I think is going to be more unanimous, we have embedded detonators. Where should we put embedded detonators? S. Embedded dets is S for sure. S, yeah. S, yeah, S. S, yeah. Good, I only missed a gun if I rarely use it. High S, yeah. Yeah, I think that this one is the best for the Zhukovs. Works on basically everything. That is true. It honestly, I mean, the downsides are what? Bullets and, yeah, damage. I guess mag size too. None of those, like, the only one that hurts it is ammo. Because who cares about the damage? Most of the damage is coming from the explosion. So you lose out on 6 damage per shot, but you're gaining 38 damage on there. So you're getting a 32 damage buff with every bullet. It's just you have a lot less bullets, and that's it. And you also got the Born Ready bug. That is true. You got the Born Ready bug, sort of. It doesn't really help that much a lot of the time. It's so good. Yeah, it is. All right, up next, we got embedded detonators. This one works a little bit similar to the cryo mindlets, where you have an explosive that hits on each of your shots. Then once you go to reload, it sets off those explosives, dealing damage. Downsides of this are that you lose out on ammo, you lose out on mag size, and you lose out on damage. Kind of. You lose out on 6 damage total, which you only have 12, so that seems pretty heavy, but you gain 38 damage per bullet that explodes. So you get a huge damage buff from this. So the only real downsides are ammo that you don't have. This one is easily S tier, and I think it's the best one for the Zhukovs. It's really strong. It lets you have tons of damage towards anything. Make sure if you're using this on Dreadnought missions, though, to not use it on the armored part of the Dreadnought, because it will not blow up then. And then you're just doing reduced damage with your submachine guns. So make sure that they are weakened. Either you've pulled the armor off of the twins and are hitting them normally, or you have the regular Dreadnought out of its armor phase and are hitting its health. Same goes with the Hive Guard. But it is super strong. It lets you clear up big things really fast. You can clear up small things really quick with it too. And really all you want to do is just build ammo with this. In tier 1 and tier 4, that's what I'd recommend. This does work with blow-through rounds. You can actually hook this to multiple enemies with blow-through rounds, but it's very iffy to do that, and generally you just get more utility out of just going with more bullets. You get more damage overall, and you get more single target damage, but just going with more bullets. Tier 2, pick whatever you'd like. I like going with faster reload speed. I like going with the better weight balance in tier 3. Again, there's no point in going with damage here. Adding 1 more point of damage does not affect our explosive damage whatsoever, so going from 6 to 7 damage is neglectable. And then again in tier 5, conductive bullets if you like using the IFGs, or electricity on your primary. Otherwise, get in, get out is a great option. I love this with aggressive venting Drac. Yeah, it's really good with that. I've got the driller version of that overclock and don't use it much because I'm not knowing how. Oh, it's really good on driller too. You could try taking it on escort missions. Try using it against the rocks. Just build ammo for it too. You don't need anything else. And you don't even need like a larger magazine necessarily. Like the 6 shots in it is usually enough. I don't think Driller's one doesn't do as much damage as Scouts, just because with Scouts you have more bullets. and you have faster rate of fire, but it's still really good. I'm saying it's fun, not not saying it's good. Yeah. I like doing massive damage to the twins with embedded dets. Yeah, it does a lot of damage to them. I swear conducted bullets doesn't affect the detonation damage. I don't know if it does. I don't think it does. I think it's just the direct damage, so you'll still get a little bit more damage, and IFGs help anyway. So if you want a little bit more burst damage, you can do that. Otherwise, like, getting get out is nice, but they're both kind of nice ones. Goofy rock. Driller does more internal damage per bullet, but because clips are smaller, it doesn't do as much as Scout. Yeah. Is the Dets damage affected by freeze? I don't think so. I could be wrong about that. Maybe it is. I don't recall. I think the det damage is just flat damage. I think it's just like a flat amount of damage that nothing matters. Not by freeze, but by weak points. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I don't know, it's kind of funny because if you put embedded dets here, it says that your total damage is so low, but it doesn't take into account like the amount of damage per bullet you're getting. AoE does not affect freeze and weak points. Yeah, I don't know, there's a lot of strange mechanics in Deep Rock that kind of work that way. Alright, well, here is all of our overclocks for the Zhukovs. Zhukov has pretty solid overclocks overall. You can't really go wrong with any of them, and it has some really strong ones too. Thanks everybody for watching this. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Tell me your thoughts on the Zhukov submachine guns down below and their overclocks. Which ones do you enjoy using the most? And special thanks to the supporters of this channel. These are my members over here on YouTube, patrons over on Patreon, and they get early access to videos just like this. If you'd like to be a part of that, you can. There's a link in the description or the join button down below on YouTube. Thanks, everybody. Hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye. All right. Again, another weird outro, but that was the last one for right now. Boschro time. All right, up next, we've got the crossbow for our last scout weapon. Bye, YouTube. I watched 3 videos without finishing. Weird. Yeah. Yeah, I figured that this one would be a little bit strange, but I wanted to have your guys' opinion on it, and it'd be really weird to like film all this and then film outros afterwards. I feel if I film them right now, I can just cut them in and move them around and whatever, and then that kind of works. All right, so we're gonna do another intro here too, so another little clap sync then. I came for the outros. Well, welcome, Jeff. Glad you can make it for the outros. To be honest, it's really funny. Yeah. It's a little bit odd. Entertainment, exactly. Entertainment. I mean, this is how I, like, record stuff normally. Except for it's usually just me here talking to myself. And usually, like, redoing certain things over and over again because I might mess up the voice lines or something. Or whatever I wanted to say, or I say it backward. And it's just like, okay, restart, do it again, restart, do it again, restart, do it again, because I lost my train of thought while I was looking at something else. Are you not entertained? Yes, exactly. All right, so hello and welcome, everybody. Today we are going to be doing another tier list for the Scout. This time we're going to be taking a look at the Crossbow Overclocks, and we're going to be ranking them in our tier list. So, hi, YouTube. Yes. All right, let's get the crossbow over here, and our very first overclock that we have is the Specialist. What Specialist does is get us more special bolts and have our special bolts last longer than they otherwise would. A. Specialist is pretty good. I think A tier is probably fair for it. A tier for sure. Yeah, A tier. It used to be better with the pheromone bolts, but that's because the pheromone bolts got nerfed. Because it used to have like 22 pheromone bolts or something like that. Specialist is really strong. No lower than A. Solid A. I think so. I think A tier is where it belongs. It really depends on how much you like the special bolts though too. Like if you're not a fan of the special bolts, I can see why you wouldn't really like it. But if you take like expanded special quiver and you've got specialist here, You know, you've got, and you take even more duration on it. If you really spec into like what it's strong with, you know, you have something like a 17-second pheromone bolt and you have 16 pheromone bolts, or you have a 24-second explosive bolt. I think this one might have actually got buffed. I don't recall though. And you also have a 16, you have 16 in total, or you have electricity bolts and you have 21 of them and it lasts for 20 seconds. Like, all of these are pretty good effects. Pheromone bolt with firebolt is really good. I would agree. It's really good with that, and it's really good with the ice bolt too. So Specialist is a really solid overclock. I'm going to put this one up into A tier. It really depends on how much you enjoy the special bolts though. If you really like them, it could be even higher. If you don't like special bolts, then it's probably going to be lower, but the special bolts are undeniably really good with the crossbow and one of the major reasons to pick the crossbow. So I think Specialist is just a nice buff to it. You can have a crazy amount of bolts. You can have something like, you can have 21 electric bolts, 16 special bolts, or 16 of the chemical bolts, or 16 of the pheromone bolts, at least if you're taking the expanded special quiver, which you might as well. And you can also have long duration on all of these, going up to 16 seconds, 23.5 seconds, or 24 seconds, and then 20 seconds in total. All of them are great. You can also build this however you'd like. It's good with basically anything that you want, because it is just a clean overclock that gives you nothing but a bonus. To be honest, Bolt Shark's clean overclocks are good. I would agree. It's a very flexible overclock because it essentially buffs 3 separate things on one weapon. That is true. It is super flexible in that way because it's just depending on what type of mission you're going on, or what type of bolt you might want for those missions, or what type of primary you're running. It's good in like every situation. So I think that's another clean overclock that really stands out. Quickfire is up next, and Quickfire gives us a faster moving projectile and a faster reload. Yeah, slightly faster reload. I actually like this one quite a bit. B tier? B tier? Yeah. I'm thinking like A or B tier. Because it does make it so the crossbow is effectively a long-range weapon. Without the movement speed, the crossbow feels kind of slow to me. And this feels pretty good with like the Drac. I find it less useful with like the M1000 or the GK2. High B, low A. B for Bolt Shark, low A, I think. Like, I take this one pretty often when I'm taking like overtuned particle accelerator, because I just don't have range and I want something with range. Yeah, I think those are all fair though. It's a nice bonus. It's not really necessary for the crossbow, but it's nice. So Quickfire gets us a slightly faster reload speed at 0.2 seconds, and it gets us a faster moving projectile at 100% more velocity. So we can use this more for long range options, and I find it really good with the Drac. Outside of that, I find it okay. So high B tier, I think, is where I'd put this one, or low A tier. I don't think it's quite as good as Specialist, since Specialist is far more versatile than Quickfire, but Quickfire is a nice bonus to the weapon. Usually if I'm taking this, then I take whatever bolt I want, whatever that might be for whatever situation. Extra ammo, because we don't really need damage, and we don't really need special ammo, but they wouldn't be bad options either. Faster reload time so that we can make it even quicker, although you could go with velocity and have a 300% faster moving projectile and have a hit scan weapon. That's kind of fun too. Whatever you'd like in tier 4, and then again whatever you'd like in tier 5 based on whatever bolt you took. So if you want to go with pheromones, you can do that, or electricity, you can do this. You could also do chemical with fear or whatever it might be. All great options. All right, next we have Firebolts, which Firebolts let us have fire on our bolt, but we lose that on damage and we lose that on area damage. The fire also builds up slowly over time. Fair enough. A minus, low A, I think. Low A, Firebolts, high A with pheromone bolts, B without it. B. They're not as good on like robot missions. I think a lot of people try to take them on robot missions and don't realize that they're not really that great for it. Straight A. Fire is pretty nice. It's great for crowd clear, and it's great with the pheromone bolts. It's pretty good, but cryo bolts are better. I guess that depends on the mission you're going on. Because like you're going to be really happy if you get a nemesis and you have fire bolts. Because you can just keep the fire on him longer and make it so it builds up more consistently. It's also technically going to be better on like robot missions anyway, just because you again can build up heat with it. Cryo is also really nice though, because Cryo is always going to be good against bugs. With kiting, it's really good. I'd call it low A. It's somewhere up there. I'm thinking like high B, low A. It's good in Glacial Strata? Yeah. It's also good for some utility too with the Firebolts, because you can clear up webs with it. You can also light things on fire with it, like the sludge, and you can also light neurotoxin, or yeah, the neurotoxin grenades on fire too. It's amazing for swarmers. Yeah, it is. Fire spreads too slow and it takes time to combine with the pheromone. That is kind of true. To be fair, heat spread with the fire makes the fire bolts effective against crowds. Yeah, it does. That's why it's so good with the pheromone bolts. If you shoot one like big thing with it and then you shoot a couple of these into it. Praetorian gas. Yeah, it'll also light those on fire too. I forget about that. At least usually, unless you get the bug where it just doesn't light it on fire for whatever reason. I'm not sure what causes that either. Alright, firebolts I'm going to put up into high B tier or low A tier. Maybe I'll put it into low A tier. They are pretty good. They burn through things pretty quick. You can use it for utility, for lighting anything on fire that you normally would. So sludge, webs, neurotoxin gas, or Praetorian gas, whatever it might be. You can light all those on fire. If you combine it with the pheromone bolts, it's really good. And that's usually the way that I run it, with going something like this. Outside of that, I usually go with more ammo since you can't pick up your bolts and you don't really need more damage. You don't really need more special bolts, but those would be good options too. Faster reloads, and then Battle Frenzy. Again, radio transmitter does not work with this because you can't recall them. You could with the pheromone bolts, but I feel like the extra movement speed is better than that. And yeah, it's really good for crowds. Stick a pheromone bolt onto something big like a Praetorian, then shoot it with 2 or 3 of the fire bolts, maybe even just 1, and you'll spread fire out to everything around it. You can also shoot these into the floor and just kite around it, have little things run into it, and they'll likely catch fire too. It's really good for clearing up swarmers. Also works really well with the pheromone grenades. Yeah, that's true. Anything that works well with the pheromone bolts is going to work well with the pheromone grenades. Do firebolts kill Macteras with 1 shot? I think if you hit him in the weak spot, it does. Because I think just the crossbow itself can do that. I don't recall, though. Do Driller next. Hey, Batman. Well, today we're just going to be doing Scout. We might do Driller a different day. Well, we will do Driller a different day. Weak spot, yeah. It does not has 5. Does it not? I was pretty sure the crossbow 1-shot regular Mactera with the body shot. Without any investment, because I think you can do it with damage investment from the bolt, or from the Bodkin points. But then firebolts do nerf your damage, so you might have to wait for them to catch fire, and I'm not sure if 1 bolt will do that. Even cryo bolts kill Mactera in 1 shot? Oh, okay. Drill them and grill them. Yep, drill them and grill them. I usually play 4-player on has 5, and they sometimes live. Trijaws can't be 1-shot? Yeah, I figured Trijaw is going to be 1-shot, but I thought regular Mactera could. Because I think if you build damage just on a regular crossbow or something with like Quickfire, you can 1-shot Trijaws if you hit him in the weak spot, but I could be wrong about that. Not sure if it's me, but I feel like I can't use the crossbow, can't make the crossbow work for me. Like, it feels pretty bad to use. Crossbow's kind of a weird one. If it's not drillable, it's probably flammable. Yep. Alright, up next we've got cryo bolts, which work exactly the same way as fire bolts, just they're ice. This one kind of depends on the mission type. Fire is pretty useful right now for burning robots, but ice is always going to be useful for clearing up bugs. It also will one-shot things like swarmers, which is nice. And it's great if you need to freeze something big like a spawner. Then it makes it even better than cryo bolts. So I feel like this one should probably go in the same tier as cryo bolts. They're just different overclocks for different jobs, but functionally the same in terms of everything else. So you can run it the exact same way you run fire bolts, and that's usually the way I do it. Just this is for ice. I think this is like one of the overclocks that I have to talk the least about, because it's basically once I explain one, I explain the other. Just ice. Cryo bolt feels weaker. Stuff like goo bombers and breeders. Yeah, it's really great for breeders and goo bombers, and it's also really good for like nexuses. I'd still call it S tier or high A. Yeah, it's somewhere around there. I don't know. It's potentially better, it's potentially worse than fire, depending on the mission type you're going on. Because, like, if you're going on a Dreadnought mission, fire bolts don't give you any advantage, where cryo bolts could. Or at least any more advantage. Then if you're going on, like, a robot mission, or if you happen to get, like, a Nemesis, then fire bolts are generally better than the cryo bolts. So, kind of goes back and forth. Better than fire, but not as good as specialist? Oh, so you think it should be up here? I guess it really depends. Again, it depends on the mission type. I would say these are equal, but I think specialist is more flexible and going to give you better results, because you can take this on every mission type and still have a really good bonus. I guess you could say the same thing about Quickfire, though, too. But that's just cleans in general. Shouldn't be running firebolts on elimination? Well, yeah, but if you take firebolts on, like, a deep dive and there just happens to be an elimination, you know, that could happen. It's good with the minigunner and synergies with other primaries. Yeah. I usually use the Cryonade for breeders and the like, but the Cryo Bolt can free up that slot. That is true. Yeah. I still think Cryo Bolts are better than Fire Bolts. They can be. Honestly, you shouldn't be running with either on elimination. Well, maybe, but again, if you're doing like a deep dive and it just happens to be an elimination, especially if you didn't check ahead of time. But then something like Specialist would probably be your best choice then, because you could take any of the bolts and you'd have a bonus. I definitely use Specialist over Fire and Cryo bolts. I think it's a little bit better, yeah. It can replace one of the best grenades in the game. That is true. It can. But then Scout has 3 really good grenades, so... Irony, the Specialist is a generalist. Yeah, that is true, isn't it, Wesper? Fire is good for groups. Cryo is good for flying enemies. Well, Cryo can be good for groups, too. Why Quickfire B? We said it was either high B or low A. We're already getting kind of crowded in A tier anyway, Mad. So, nice bonus. Not necessary, but nice. That's about it. Alright, let's move on to the unstables, where first up we got Bodkin points. Bodkin points is one of my favorite new overclocks. This one gives you bouncy bolts for the crossbow, where once you hit an enemy, it can bounce into 2 other enemies. This reduces your damage, and it reduces your rate of fire. Or no, it reduces your recoil, or no, reload. Recoil? You don't have recoil, it's a crossbow. S tier, S tier, S tier? Really, S tier? Unquestionable S tier? Is it? Well, it's... I would say it's S tier in terms of fun, but is it better than, like, Specialist and stuff? Both fun and super effective? That is true. Do we just give it S tier because of the... one of Scout's best crowd control options? It's pretty good for that. A good bullet hell. You dare challenge its S tier quality? A little bit. Bodkin with Banshee is crazy good. That is true, because you can scare off multiple things, which is nice. Hello, Blaze. Welcome. Never mind, S. Fire's greater than Bodkin, in my opinion, for crowds. It can be. It's just if you miss with a Bodkin point, you can pick it back up, too. And Bodkins do hit enough damage to kill things instantly if you take damage with them. Yeah, because you could take, like, this, or really whatever you want as your bolt. Really, you can take whatever you want into your 1 and 5 here. You do want damage with the Bodkin points. This gets you enough damage to one-shot grunts on any difficulty, and you can potentially one-shot up to 3 of them, which is super good. As for Scary Banshee, I love Bodkin points, but I think they're weak, actually. You can spam it into crowds and then keep the grunts at bay. That is true. And you can retreat fear bolts and keep it infinitely. That is also true. You can infinitely do that. You can do that with like Quickfire or Specialist too, or anything else that's not either the fire bolt, the cryo bolt, or the Triforg volley. Crossbow isn't much better for single target damage build, and Bodkins does the opposite. That is true. Oh, crossbow is much better for single target. Yeah, but the crowd control it does give you is nice. I don't know. No one has posted anything but S tier, so it's S tier. I don't know. We could give it low S tier. Like, I think it's on the very low end of S tier if it's there. You can remove 2 to 3 grunts per bolt. That is true. You can do that, which is nice. And it is a super fun overclock. So I guess for the fun factor added on to that, it is actually pretty good. Oh, thank you for the subscribe, WYT. I appreciate that. Fire can remove an entire swarm with 1 bolt. Potentially. It's fairly unlikely to do that. But you can. You could also do the same thing with 2 electric bolts with specialists, though, too. If you want to be exact about it. Infinite AoE and fear if you purposely miss bolts. You can still have specialist bolts and have 3 different functions. That is true, too. Alright, Bodkin points I'm just going to put into low S tier. Super fun. For the fun factor alone, I think it pushes it up there. In terms of practical use for the Bodkin points, it's still pretty good. Clears up crowds well. Does decent damage towards big enemies. It's, again, super fun to use. So I put it there, but it's on the very low end. I feel like something like Specialist could still outperform it. So, yeah, take that for what you will. Alright, then we've got... oh, wait, I should probably do the build. This is potentially a build that you could use with Bodkin points. Fear is pretty good on it, but anything in Tier 1 and 3, or Tier 1 and 5 are your choice. Definitely take damage in Tier 2. It is necessary. And then whatever the heck else you want in Tier 3 and 4. Alright, up next we have Triforg Volley then. OP with magnetic shafts. Bodkin points is kind of like magic bullets, but a crossbow. Yeah, that is true. It's basically that. High A, maybe low S. It is really good. It's one of your... It's not as high damaging for a secondary as Embedded Deads. It's potentially more damaging than jumbo shells. So... like, less than Embedded Deads, on level with jumbo shells, in my opinion. So, like, A tier, the same way we put jumbo shells, you think? A tier? You do run through ammo with it fairly quick. At least I usually run out of bolts with it pretty quick. I guess bolts, not bullets. This one also has a comedic effect. Yeah, it also is one of the only ones that actually changes the weapon how it looks since you have 3 bolts on there. It's high damage at range, which fulfills a nice niche. That is true. It's definitely better if you take electro bolts and you take magnetic shafts with it, so that way all of your bolts are guaranteed to hit. This one's nice on eliminations. Yeah, it's really nice on eliminations. It's also potentially really nice on regular missions too, if you want to take out Praetorians or Oppressors really quick. You don't want to use this against crowds, though. It's kind of inconsistent towards crowds. I guess in dense crowds it's fine, but in kind of loose crowds, there's a good chance you'll miss and just not get tons of value from it. So I'm thinking like high A tier. Acupuncture for dreads, yeah. High A tier on everything except for like elimination missions. Then it's like S tier. So I think I'd put it up there. It's very good. You do technically lose out on damage with this one, though. So yeah, you technically lose out on a bit of damage with this. You get more ammo, but you do have a longer reload. And every time you fire this, you do fire out all 3 of your bolts, and you can't retrieve those bolts, which is a little bit of a downside. I do find myself running through this. However, if you take the taser bolts and you take magnetic shafts, you can make sure that every shot hits whatever you're trying to hit. And if you put something like 2 electric bolts on something big like a dreadnought, it slows it to an absolute crawl, which makes it so hitting the weak spot is really easy. I do like going with extra ammo here. I find that gets me a little bit more value. You could go with damage, though. Damage is also really good on this. And you could even go with special quiver if you think you need more electric bolts. Outside of that, don't take something like the radio transmitter because you can't get them back. So faster movement speed makes more sense there. And then I like going to the faster reload so that we make up for the loss in reload speed. Again, really good on Dreadnought missions, and then it's probably like S tier. Everything else, maybe A tier. You can run through ammo with it a bit quick. I think it's potentially the strongest overclock for the Bolt Shark, just because it gives the crossbow a use that the other secondaries don't have. To some extent, you can still use like embedded detonators at range, and you can use shape shells at range though too, and have pretty high damage on both of them. Maybe not as much as like the crossbow, as well as you do have the secondary bolts, which are nice. kind of just depends. They're all great choices. They're all really strong, like, secondary weapons that you could take for elimination missions, or if you're lacking damage on your primary weapon. Like, if you wanted to go with something like Impact Deflection or Aggressive Venting Drac to deal with more, like, crowds, and then just have that only for big targets, then it's really good. Shotgun for range. With Shape Shells, it's actually pretty good at range. Because then you have that 50% spread reduction, and it's surprisingly accurate at longer ranges. Outside of that, yeah, maybe not so much. Because, like, Jumbo Shells, yeah, it doesn't have the range that Triforg Volley does, at least consistently. You might be able to slap something pretty hard at long range with it, but it's going to be a little bit difficult. Shotguns in the game are surprisingly accurate. Yeah, they can be. Shape Shells, a Warden's worst enemy, yeah. Shape Shells isn't super consistent against Dreads, in my opinion. I guess it depends. I find it good enough. Too much variability? I guess. I don't know, because, like, the thing is you're playing Scout. So you don't really need range a lot of the time, especially against, like, Dreadnoughts, unless they're, like, maybe crawling on the ceiling. But most of the time they're going to be fairly close to you, and you can get around them pretty quick. So, kind of just depends. Alright, well, here's all the Crossbow Overclocks, and put in our list. Crossbow, another really good weapon that has pretty much nothing but good overclocks. Got a lot of really solid choices here. Thanks everybody for watching this. Tell me your thoughts on the overclocks down in the comments below. And special thanks to the supporters of this channel. These are my members over here on YouTube, patrons over on Patreon. They get early access to videos just like this. And if you'd like to be a part of it, you can. There are links in the description. Thanks everybody for doing that. I really do appreciate it. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye. All right. Final outro. I think that's kind of everything for Scout right now. We went over the GK2, we went over the M1000, we went over Drac, Boomstick, Zhukovs, and Crossbow. So, to be fair, Scout is quite capable of getting in close. Yeah, Scout is. You can get in probably quicker than most other people. Well, yeah, usually. Usually you can get in quicker than most other people. Just thinking with Driller, usually you don't have too much of a problem either, but that's because a lot of your primary weapons make it so you have to be close. I got the earliest view live. Yep, you got the earliest view live, Alex. These will be cut down into shorter videos for each one of these weapons, and then we can just kind of, once I get through with those, and I have another project that I have planned that I'm going to be trying to record today, which should make for a fun video too. Then we'll be doing like the other classes too, and we'll do them in this live format. I don't know if they'll be on a set day or they'll just be on like one of these extra days that I just kind of don't usually stream. What's Scout's best tool for taking down bulks? Kind of depends. Because you can freeze them with your cryo grenades, you can freeze them with the cryo bolts, and you can freeze them, well, you can kind of freeze them with like cryo minelets. Those are all good. Pheromone bolts also work really well against them because enemies will try to swarm towards them. High damage weapons also work, and just usually going for the weak spots helps a lot. You can also use the IFG because your whole team can then just get the damage bonus from it, and you can kill things really, really fast, especially bulk detonators with that. So you have quite a few options. Usually it's something combined with one of your grenades. Your grenades are pretty good. Pheromone bolts, taser bolts, shape shells, embedded dets. Yeah, taser bolts can be good too because you put 2 on a bulk detonator and it slows down super quick. Then it's really easy to hit the weak spot with whatever, either with the crossbow or whatever your primary weapon is. Anything that deals high burst damage, anything that freezes also works. Yeah, spam them down with hipster works too. That is true. That's kind of a strat that works with everything though too, with Scout. How do you kill it? You just spam it down with hipster. If it's a dreadnought, if it's a menace, if it's rocks, if it's whatever, just spam it down with hipster. It'll die eventually. Anything can be solved with hipster, basically. Hipster works on literally everything. Yeah, it does. Yeah, Scout can kill bulks pretty quick. or at least pretty consistently. I don't think they can kill him the fastest because like Engineer can kill him really quick with something like Hyper Propellant or the Breach Cutter. Gunner can kill him super fast with volatile bullets, or with Mole. Although Mole can potentially one-shot anything, so... or at least anything that can be one-shot, Mole can one-shot it. Also, Gunner can potentially tank through the bulk exploding because they have the explosive damage resist. Mole and Swiss cheese plats. Yeah, that works. That essentially kills anything with one shot. NG cheese block for Mole. Yeah, you could also do, well, you could do any of Engineer's secondaries. Because like Hyper Propellant, Plascrete Catalyst, anything with the Breach Cutter. What is that one called for the Shard Diffractor? It's one of the unstable ones around here. Oh, hey, they still have this as Endothermic Explosion. That's not even what it is anymore. I don't think that this one's been updated in a while, though. Because I just found this one. I didn't create it or anything. Mostly because it's kind of hard to actually like find images like this where I can just like take them and then put them in. Because almost everything is now linked to like the actual page and not actually to just like a PNG of it. Overdrive Booster, that's the one. It's Overdrive Booster. Yeah, Overdrive Booster also kills them super fast. So you have plenty of options there. Overdrive Boosters, I mean. Yeah. And also Feedback Loop. Feedback Loop can also do it, yeah. Practically anything can. I've died from the bulk explosion even at full health run. Yeah. I just said you could survive it. I think it depends on how close it is when it explodes. If you're towards the edge of it, you can still survive as Gunner. I think you also can if you have Red Rock, because Red Rock will give you enough health to just tank through it, assuming you are at full health. Well, such a great overclock. Yeah, it is really good. We'll talk about that once we get to Gunners. And we'll also talk about Drillers and Engineers and stuff. Probably if you're far enough. Yeah, because I think the damage falls off the further you are away from it. But it kind of just depends. Oh, well, thank you for the subscribe. I'm just going to say BGM. Or yeah, BGM. I'll just say BGM. I know that's not correct, but thank you. Because I think it's something like Barm or something. Overdrive Booster is just a mini Death Star, basically. Yeah. Feedback and aluminum foil DIY is stupid. Yeah, it can be. It's also really good, at least if that's the one I'm thinking of. It's also really good with the biomass converter. Let's see, is Feedback Loop the one? Increased radius. Yeah. It's also really good at that. Because, like, then you kind of make up for the ammo that you're losing out. Because you can do something like that. And I like taking it with the fire, too. And then, like, more AoE. And then getting a lot of ammo refunded and stuff. Triple tag, Veteran Depositor, and Shield. And Gunner eats explosions for breakfast. That is true. Gunner can survive a bullet explosion from his suit, 50% reduction from explosions. Yeah. It's kind of the same way that Driller could potentially survive it too if he's on the outside of it. And it's just the fire ticking down on him because he has fire damage reduction. It also makes you immune to the floor fires in Magma Core, which is pretty awesome. I like the overclock that everybody uses with Engineer. That they just scribble fire all over the screen. The volatile impact reactor. There's so many things that are volatile something or another. Yeah, the magma one. This one's really cool too. I like this one. It's just a great general purpose one, I find. Plascrete Catalyst is just team kill overclock with some side functions. It's pretty good on like the Omen Tower against Dreadnoughts. I just found out the other day you can just use it to one-shot stabber vines, like the entire vine thing too. So it's super useful for that. Tier 3 lets the fire for longer, which means more potential damage. Yeah. Yeah, everybody just washes their mouse over the screen, basically. Plasticrete Catalyst is super good, but it's a suicide build if you're not careful. Yep, that's true too. It's such a derpy overclock in my opinion, because like it can be so good. It can also be so bad depending on how it's used. And if you're not careful with it, because you can so easily kill yourself, kill your teammates, make things worse for everybody. I wish it was a little bit better for mining too, but like it's so much fun too. It's just such a fun overclock to use. It's probably another one of my favorite new overclocks that was added with the season 2 stuff. Like Bodkin Points I still think is my favorite new overclock, but we had some other pretty great ones too. Mole is pretty awesome, Hellfire is pretty awesome, Triple Tag is pretty awesome. Let's see, the Overcharger or Overdrive Booster and the Catalyst is pretty awesome. It takes time to set up and I don't really like that. Yeah, that is true. And sometimes you just don't get a good area to set it up in the first place. We complained that the Smart Rifle has no turret synergy, so they gave us a platform synergy. Yeah, exactly. Do you guys shoot stabber vines at the base or at the vines? I find that shooting the individual vines is more efficient. Yeah, usually I shoot them at the bulbs where the stabs are because that's their weak spot. The Loki will automatically lock onto those, which is pretty nice. Who said platforms can't be weapons? Exactly. All right. Yellow vine bolt. Yeah, like right where the nub is or whatever the heck it is, where it's like you got the stabber vine here and then you've got like the vine arm here. Like, I guess at the wrist or whatever it would be. At least I try to hit there. Obviously, certain weapons, that's very impractical. Like if I'm trying to shoot it with the autocannon or something, it's just wherever I hit is good enough. Bugs keep getting in the way. Yeah, exactly. Be scared of the cheese. Just be very scared. All right, I think I'm going to leave off here right now with this particular overclock list. I don't know who we're going to be going over next. I'm trying to think who I usually did. I think I usually did them as Driller, Gunner, Engineer, Scout. So I guess next time we're going to be doing Engineer because I'm going to do this backwards for no reason. So Engineer overclocks next. I think that should be pretty fun. Is the stream ending right? Yeah, this time for real, Nova. This time for real, I'm going to be ending this stream. No later stream today or anything like that. I just wanted to do another one of these live ones today. I will be streaming again tomorrow, though. We're going to be continuing more Silent Hill 2 that day. Hopefully I get more used to the janky controls on that. Feels really weird playing a game just with the keyboard, but whatever. I always did that, but no idea that it was the weak spot. Yeah. Bye, Ron. Bye, Nova. Take care. Can't wait for Ingy. Ingy should be fun. Ingy's got a lot of really good overclocks, and I'm not sure if I'd put any of them into, like, D tier. That's going to be an interesting one. See you, Ron. Oh, grab the pretzel again, rare. No pretzels. But, yeah, that one should be interesting. See you later, alligator. See you later, Alex. Take care. Bye, Ron. Bye, Jonathan. NG is the nuclear solution. Yeah, the grenade launcher I think is going to be fun. The grenade launcher, in my opinion, doesn't have any bad stuff. Bye, Miss. Take care. Bye, Rare. Bye, Front. You guys take care. Bye, Ron. Have a great day. Thank you. You too, Hawk. Take care, and I will see you guys tomorrow, hopefully. Have a great rest of your day, and bye-bye, everybody.